and welcome to Among the Jungle podcast. I'm botanist and host, Shai Kaina, and I'd love for you to join me as I interview the incredible plant people of Instagram to create an audio vault of inspiring botanical knowledge while harnessing a deeper connection with us in our natural world. If you're ready, it's time to inspire your wild. Welcome back, Jungle Dwellers, to episode number 13 of Among the Jungle podcast. Today, we're journeying to Damanhur, Italy, a federation of communities with its own constitution, culture, art, music, currency, school, and uses of science and technology, where they've been researching communication with the plant world. Our guest today, Aninga, lives in Damanhur and works with a device called Music of the Plants that graphs the individual and unique electromagnetic signatures of plants and translates them into music we can hear. I want to tell you my personal story on how I came across the Music of the Plants device. It all started when my friend Teresa came to visit me, who was our guest on the episode Sacred Geometry of Plants. And during one of our co-working days, she had mentioned to me about a video that she saw on YouTube of a sunflower playing music. It was like the sunflower's song. It was so beautiful. I was super intrigued at that point. A couple weeks later, I went to a manifestation workshop. And at this manifestation workshop and cacao ceremony, I got to know a couple of women who are very, very special, many of which will be upcoming guests on the podcast. But one wonderful woman named Kathy, who was taking the workshop with me, happened to kind of befriend me during the workshop. And so afterwards, we swapped phone numbers, and the next day I woke up to a text message that said, "Have you ever heard of a singing plant machine?" with a video of an orchid playing a beautiful, beautiful song. She said that she had one of the Music of the Plants devices and that I could meet her up at the Manlizer Memorial Greenhouse and listen to some plants sing for myself. All I have to say is that was an absolutely life-changing experience. Getting to understand in a physical way that we influence and impact the energy around plants and other sentient beings. We influence, we affect this energy, and they do the same thing for us. And it's magical when you can actually hear that happening. So before we get into the exciting things that we're going to learn from Aninga today about the Music of the Plants device, let me humbly ask a favor. If you have learned something valuable from this podcast, please take a moment to pause right now and leave us a review. I may just send a gift or two to the best reviews I received this week. So go ahead, pause now and leave a review. We'll be right here waiting when you get back. Welcome back, and thank you so much for supporting this podcast. I love sharing my deeply rooted love of plants with you all. In today's episode, we will learn where the Music of the Plants technology originated and how it works, how to communicate and connect with plants through the medium of music, and how to be more like plants by practicing presence and listening. As you can imagine, I'm beyond excited to share this episode with you. To find links to any and all information mentioned along the way, you can find the show notes for this episode at amongthejungle.com/013. Get ready to tune into the plant kingdom as we welcome Aninga to the jungle.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, I had a very exciting experience with one of your Music of the Plants instruments, and I have felt such a special connection to plants since having that experience. And I was just so thankful that you were willing to be on the podcast because I'm a huge, huge fan of what you offer and what your community is creating. So I'm excited to share that with everyone. So I guess let's find out a little bit about you and maybe your first significant memory of plants.
Yeah, I'm Aninga, and I'm working in this moment of my life for the Music of the Plants project. So later we will discover more about it. And in this moment, I'm living in this community called Damanhur. That is where the Music of the Plants is born. So my first significant memory about plants is when I have known Damanhur many years ago. Significant why is because in reality plants were always part of my life. So I always lived in an house with a garden, and so I was very used to stay in the garden and going in the park also with my friends. And so I usually spend many time in nature, and also I like a lot to walk in nature, to go in the mountains, and I lived before in a place on the sea, but it was very close to the mountains. So it was a really, really good mix between these two natural places. So I had the sea and I had the mountains close.
You don't get any better than having the ocean and the mountains together. That's the best.
Yes. So I was saying that my first significant memory of plants is regarding my first memory of Damanhur. So when I arrived in Damanhur almost 6 years ago, I was introduced by the idea that we as humans are not the only one that are living on this planet, and in particular the idea that we have three main mother worlds. And so these three main mother worlds are the humans, the spirit nature, and plants. So, and these three main worlds need to collaborate together, and so they need to be united. So this thinking was really strong for me and allowed me to think that plants are not just there and they are maybe helpful for us to eat and to nourish ourselves, but they are maybe part of a bigger plan in which plants are really important as we are. So they are part of our evolution.
Yeah, that is so true. It's amazing to think about how much longer plants have been on the planet than humans. And when you think about it in that context, you really see that we had to develop as humans through our connection with plants. So they are such a huge, huge part of us. Seems like we've gotten far away from that thinking of them being these really powerful beings that have shaped who we are as humans. But I'm really happy to see that people are coming back to that idea and getting reconnected with that thought. It's really powerful. Tell me a little bit about your community and how you guys were inspired to start working with plants in this way.
Yeah, so Damanhur, it is a federation of communities born in the 1975, and this community is born like a group of research. At the beginning, it was a group of research, and now it is a big community with its own constitution, its own schools, its own art, its own companies, and also language.
So you guys have your own language outside of Italian, like a dialect, or your own language?
It is a very ancient language. We call it sacred language. And it is a language that usually it is not used in the common, in the daily life, but it is used just in certain moment. So, and this language is made with symbols. So we use a lot in our art, in our painting. There is the symbol, there is the word, and there is also the movement. So this language can be also danced.
Wow, very much like a Hawaiian culture. That's very interesting, very cool.
Yes, exactly. And in our community, we have 4 times during the year we celebrate our biggest ritual that are the spring equinox, the summer solstice, autumn equinox, and winter solstice. So these four moments are our biggest festivities. So they are big days of celebration of our connection with nature, because these 4 moments are the moments in which nature change, and so they are really connected also to all our rhythms.
Wow, so you guys very much live with the seasons.
Yes, yes. In fact, we feel that day is really important to celebrate, and it is done since many, many years. So we are happy to not have lost this tradition, and also the Celtic peoples celebrated this ritual every year. In every equinox, every solstice was celebrated, and it was a big party, a big celebration. So we do.
Wow. So your community, its foundations are in both science and spirituality and connection, right?
Yes.
How have you guys studied plant consciousness and come into connection with that?
Yeah, the plant was one of the first topic that we started to research, because we started asking ourselves how we can connect more with plants, because plants are everywhere, and we could have a very easy connection with plants every day. But we were thinking if there is a way of communication with them, in a way in which we can talk with them, but also we can receive, because communication is always made by two parts, and so there is a part that gives and a part that receives, and this balance needs to be filled every time, and this balance change every time. So thinking on how we could communicate with plants, we arrived to the idea of mixing the technology with nature. So we think that also technology, it is a very interesting way to arrive to certain understandings. So technology could be a very important tool. And so we created this device. The first prototype was at the end of the 70s. So connecting this device that was like an electrocardiogram that works on us, on humans, and this device had these sensors, these electrodes that were put on plants and not on humans, and connected the plant to this device. We started to see that these signals of the plants, that we decided to translate them in music. These signals were not so casual. They had their own melodies, their own rhythm. And why we choose to use music? Because music, it is an emotional language. So
Wow.
music, it is a way for us to really feel the emotion, to really have particular feelings. So music has no language, but it is a universal language, and everyone can understand music. So we said, if humans can understand the music, maybe this is a language that can be understood also by two different species that are really, really different.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes. And so we created this device that translates the electrical signals of the plants into music, and we started to interact with plants in this way.
Wow, that is incredible. And I have to say firsthand, it is amazing. I consider myself a spiritual botanist because I very much respect science, but I love it when it works in tandem with spirituality. And I find in my life a lot, it very much does. And I mean, I believe plants are sentient beings. I always have. I believe that we have this special connection to them, and that they communicate in ways that we haven't been able to previously understand. And then being able to take one of your devices and actually connect that to a plant, and even two plants of the same variety. Like let's say that you have two of the same species of orchid right next to each other. Hooking that up to one of those orchids versus the other orchid, they liked different tunes on the player. They had a different rhythm and a different song to sing, and it was incredible to be able to experience that. And it was a very, very spiritual connection. And even being someone who considers plants sentient, it took my understanding of their sentience to a whole nother level. I really thought it was amazing. So how would you describe plant consciousness? What is that?
Well, plants are really, really different from us. So I can say that plants are in this moment what we could be in the future.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that blew my mind just now. Wow.
Yes, because plants have developed what does it mean to be a community. They are really a community because there are many studies that tell us that plants have this big network, and they are all connected through their roots. And so through the roots, they can communicate each other's, and they can, even if they are really, really far away, and they can send messages without our internet connections, and they can communicate when there is some danger in the rounds, and they can really help, and also they can sacrifice themselves to help someone else of the community. So I think, and also different studies proves this, that plants have this big ability to be this big community. And so I think they have this sense that we as humans have not developed so much. That is the sense of is similar to telepathy. So it's something that allowed them to feel, to have this really higher sensibility. And so they are in a level in which we could be in the future in this sense. And so plant consciousness, it is something that we are not considering so much. But I think in the future it could be really a way for us to understand what we want to be as humans. So I think it is also a way to have less technology in a certain kind of way, so less connections, less Wi-Fi internet connections, but to restart to use some other our abilities. So that I think we have as innate abilities, but we need to rediscover them again. So maybe also in this moment in which we are also everyone is in lockdown, is maybe a moment in which we could develop again this connection with nature.
Yes. Now, do you think plants are trying to communicate with us? Do you think that they're trying to have like a back and forth communication, or they're trying to maybe tell us or teach us something? Do you feel that they're really trying to communicate with us?
Yes, I feel that plants trying to communicate with us since many years, and for many years they have not been listened. So I think that on our planet, just some really evolved people of the past have, and also shamans in this moment, and some people have found this communication with plants, this deep communication with plants. So I think the plant collectivity in this moment, maybe it is also in a moment in which it's tired of this non-listening by humans. And so I'm agree with them if they are if they are hungry with us. But I think that to recreate this connection, we need to get closer to them. And I really feel that there are plants that want to send a message to us. So my biggest connection with plants is here in our community, each one of us choose a plant. Usually it is a tree in the forest. And we choose that plant to establish a relationship with that plant. So when I choose this plant, is because maybe I have dreamed this tree, or maybe I just feel something with that tree, and I choose it, and it is like if me and you, we choose to become friends. So I choose to become friends with you, and I give time to you, and I give time to our relationships. So I feel in particular in the trees that they are really wise, and there are trees that are really ancient, and so they are. If we take the time to stay there, just also in silence, some messages can arrive to us. And so I feel like trees, forests are like they have like these higher understandings of reality, and also they could send some important message to us if we listen, if we stay there in this silent mode.
A mode of receptivity, which we aren't in very often.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have found other ways to communicate with plants outside of using the music machine.
Yes, usually, for example, with these trees that I have as friend that I have chosen, I stay close to him, and usually I start a deep breathing. Trying to go inside myself, and when I'm inside myself, I try to physically touch it in some part of my body. Sometimes are the hands, sometimes it's also my back. It depends. And in this state of deep meditation, I also talk telepathically. I don't talk verbally, but I think of some questions, really like I'm talking with a friend. And so maybe when I arrive, I talk about myself, about my days, what happened, and then also I stay in silence to hear if something arrive from him. And if nothing arrive, I propose a question. So asking something, I always feel that there is an answer. So this is another way for me to stay in contact with trees and to communicate with nature in general. So I feel that what I understood about them in these years is that they have a very, very slow rhythm. So if we run in front of trees and in front of plants, we could also have not been seen because they are very, very slow. And so to enter in contact with them, we need really to calm down and enter in this more slow frequency, more slow plan of reality. If we are frenetic and if we are in these waves of really fast waves, they doesn't perceive us.
That's so interesting that you said that, because I've recently been studying that more, from a scientific perspective of how long plants have been around. Like when we look at the entirety of the history of the earth, plants have been around for billions of years longer than us. So obviously, even down to their genomes, they're like 3 times more advanced And that's in a very basic, I mean, it's exponentially. They are exponentially more advanced of a species than we are. And it's almost like we are on two totally different timelines. Like we are up here just zooming through life, and they are on this very, very, very slow wave, like you're saying. And so I think that is a spot where people trying to communicate with them kind of run into error, because like you're saying, you're almost invisible to them at that and they're almost invisible to you at that super fast pace. We really have to slow down. Think about the rhythm that plants are on. I mean, if you looked at a plant every day in your house, you would never think that it moved at all until you saw a time lapse of it, and you can see it dancing. I just did a time lapse of an orchid I had that opened, and 3 leaves were opening in the same frame of the video on other plants. And it was crazy. Like the video, like plants are just dancing and dancing and dancing. And that's something that you would never see if you were just sitting there for a brief human moment watching the plant. It really takes that slowing down, trying to get yourself to be in that same rhythm of energy, and connecting to that really, really deep wisdom. So I'm interested if the relationship that you build with plants is a mutual relationship, like a friendship would be. You would choose me as a friend, and I would also choose you as a friend. So is it the same kind of relationship with a plant? Do plants want to be or not want to be in relationship with us?
Yes, it is of course mutual, and but what I feel about plants is that they have not this like we have this selection. So they are really in this way a community, and I think to do a metaphor, they are really similar to the water. So the water transforms every time, and so I think plants are also different from animals and spirits of nature. So animals are really more similar to us. They are more connected to, if I have to talk about elements, to the fire. Instead, plants are more like water. They can contain a lot of things, and so they doesn't need to do a selection if we are really in connection with them. So for my dialogue with plants, usually I also ask to plants if I can cut them or leaf or the flowers, or to pick up them, and I feel that just the thinking of us, or of attention that we put to them is really appreciated.
Yeah, that like consideration.
Yes. It's like they don't have this egoism like we have. So
yes.
They are without this shadow that we as humanity have. And
Yes. I recently saw someone I follow who's an herbalist online, and I grow a lot of herbs for my own personal use at home and stuff. And I always go out being very mindful when I trim them to just trim a little and in the right spots to where I know that they'll grow back really with a lot of vigor. But I noticed she's making this specific tincture that helps with respiratory stuff. And she was saying that every time she would go out to gather the necessary herbs, that she would communicate with them and ask them how much was okay to take, and all these things that I hadn't considered going out and being like, okay, like, what is a fair share for me to take, to keep it so that everything is in balance. And that's a very interesting concept to think that plants, we very often humanize everything. And it's amazing to think of plants as just these totally, just like water, these unbiased beings. They're not trying to judge you. They're not trying to be like, oh, I don't want to talk to you today. They're just like, oh, I've been waiting here all this time. So thankful that you finally arrived and are ready to listen to all the things I have to share with you. It's magical. So why do you think that this communication with plants and humans is important?
It is important because we can learn a lot. We can learn a lot from plants. And it is important because plants also need this communication. In fact, what we can see of this moment of our history is that plants are not considerating so much, and also our planet Earth is not. It stays not well. So this virus, for me, is also it is also a demonstration of the fact that in this moment we have lose this connection, and that we need to change our scale of value, and so we need to change also our rhythm. We need to change our lifestyle in general to stay more in connection with plants. And so I think that in reality plants could survive longer than us, even if we produce a lot of disaster in the environment, and fires, and the climate change, and all these events that are not positive for nature, because we have lose this connection as humanity in general. And so when in our thinking there is before the economy and then there is something else, maybe we have lose what does it mean, our well-being, and the well-being of us as humanity, and the well-being of nature and the planet. So I think it is important before for us, if the nature has some kind of illness, some kind of problems, for first it arrives to us, and I think they have this strong ability to die and to reborn in a really fast way, and they are also more strong in die. So I think they, if you know, when you cut a plant, the plant can stay alive till a small piece of the plant. So and it is different if someone cut our arm or cut our leg, we could easily die. It doesn't happen with plants.
Yeah.
Also because of this network that I've told before, because they have this higher, this more extended consciousness, and this more extended body also. So I think that firstly it is important for us, this reconnection. Then plant also would be really more happy to not suffer so much. So
yes. Actually, I just recently saw the area of Chernobyl, and I saw that nature has taken back there, a place that humans still shouldn't go to for hundreds of years, and plants have taken back over the buildings, and all the little deer and everything's coming back, and things that shouldn't be able to survive in that amount of radiation, or would get certain health effects from being in that amount of radiation. They're not experiencing that. They've come back, and they're almost healing that area, it's just so powerful to think that we can poison something and plants can come just right back behind us, and they're like, okay, well, we'll clean this up for you. I really wish you guys would stop, but we'll clean it up. Oh, poor plants. I feel so bad for them. They're trying just so hard.
Yeah. It is really amazing and lovely.
And how they can just be so unconditionally, I want to say just loving, because I don't even know what kind of energy that you would have to just be so unbiased. Even if something was destroying your home or destroying where you're native to, or ripping you out of that native environment and taking you somewhere else. Like my house, I live in Alaska, and it's full of tropical plants, and they're all probably like, what am I doing here? There is no light in the winter. This is not right. But I also found it interesting, like you said, with, if you cut off a leaf, it like doesn't die right away. In many cases, you can create a whole new plant from that, depending on, what kind of plant it is. But we even used the music of the plants machine to connect to things like a cutting of a plant, or even like some vegetables that you would get from the store, right? And it's amazing that those things still have energy. They're still carrying an electromagnetic vibration and signature. And so that was very cool. Plants are living for a lot longer than we think they are, which is super, super interesting. So I'm curious how you guys decided to come up with this machine and really put it into action.
Yes, this research started many years ago, just to discover how we could communicate with plants. But at a certain point, we chose to spread this technology all over the world, and so because we wanted to open the research, we thought that we were very few people to understand everything of all the possibilities that this technology and this device could open up in our minds, and so we decided to open, and I think this was a really good and strategic and good idea for the research, because in all these years we have collected many things, many feedbacks, many experiences from all the people that have used the device and that constantly use it in very different environment, in very different areas of the world, and also in different professions. So we have experience of musicians, we have experience of people of teachers in schools, we have experience of teachers of yoga. So we have many experience, and in this way we can see how plants communicate on different levels. So the music is just one level of communication, and maybe it is the more simple, because these impulses of the plants are translated into music, and if a musician is trying to interact with the plants through his own music, he's talking like the same language. So plant is talking with music, and the musician is talking with music. But there are also other levels of this communication. So also the words, and also just only the presence of the person in front of a plant can completely change the sound of the plant. So and also the movement. We have also persons that have experienced with yoga, with dance, and so all these things, also the movement, influence the change of the sound of the plant.
Yeah, we had that experience using the machine ourselves. So we have a very special greenhouse to me in town, and it's called the Manlizer Memorial Greenhouse. And it is, of course, it was assembled in somebody's memory. It is taken care of by the county, but it is very beautiful, and they have some really mature plants in there, really mature cacti and stuff, and big monsteras and bananas that produce bananas. And it's a small greenhouse in comparison to a lot of greenhouses, but wow. So when we showed up, like I said, I was meeting up with someone who had just kind of randomly reached out to me and been like, hey, have you ever heard of Music of the Plants or this plant singing machine? And I was like, I just learned of this week. How random that you messaged me. And she's like, well, I have one, so let's meet up at the greenhouse. And so when we first got there, she was like, well, I suggest walking around and determining what plant you feel like really has a message or like wants to talk, like setting an intention and figuring out, what plant in here you think really has something that they want to say. So I picked a plant, and my friend that was with me picked a plant, and the first one I picked a bird of paradise, and he was we had kind of put it on. She said that she had been there for an hour putting it on different plants, and it hadn't played anything really strong for her. So I picked this bird of paradise, and it started singing, but we were really, really close to one of the greenhouse fans. So it was difficult for us to hear the music fluctuating over this really loud fan. So we moved to the back of the greenhouse to the tree that my friend picked. And this tree wanted to just sing all day. It was amazing. So we connected to it, and it kind of started to put off some sounds, but they were like in and out. And so then we changed the music. The lady we were with said in her experience, she's noticed that certain plants like certain kinds of music that are available on the machine. And so we selected a different tune, and it just started singing and singing. And then we started like dancing around it and like pushing just like positive energy and oh my gosh, just so much love and connection towards this plant. The three of us, we have our hands up and we're just pushing like beautiful, loving energy towards it. And the plant just started singing louder and louder and louder and louder. It was getting higher and higher pitch, and the rhythm was picking up faster and faster and faster. And we were just like, everything we were doing, we could physically change the energy with our bodies and hear the energy change in the music immediately. It was honestly life-changing. It was really crazy to be able to to influence and alter the energy of a plant like that. And it really shows that the energy that we're directing towards it really creates a different outcome. So I had a personal experience with that, and I just thought it was incredible. So the technology, to my understanding, because I'm a techie as well, science-brained as much as spiritual, it's graphing the electromagnetic rhythms, right? From, let's say, like roots to leaves. And then it's basically plotting that and creating a musical rhythm out of it.
Yeah, the device decipher and register the signals of the plants, and uses the MIDI interface. So this is why the signals becomes music. So it uses a MIDI interface to transform these signals that arrive in music. And so these cables that are connected to the plants, we put one sensor on the leaf, and another it is in the ground connected to the roots. And so what we measure in reality is the variation of resistance of the plant. So this variation of resistance change, and it is different from the small plant, it's different on the trees. And so it changes because also physically the plant is different. And it varies for many, many, many reasons. So it can also vary because an insect arrives on the leaf of the plant. And so there is another kind of variation of resistance. So it is very sensible. So it is a way also to have this constant change of the music. But what technically it seems linear, practically change because we think that the plants have many senses, and so the plant can hear the music that is producing. So if the plant can hear the music that is producing, can also choose how to modulate its signals and how to modulate the sound in correspondence. So this is why we hear that it's like the plant is answering to something, to the music or to us, or like you said in your experience. So it is because plant can hear his sound, can understand what is doing with the device. So we have also seen that the first plant that we connected to the device at the beginning of this research were less expert than the plants that are playing now. And at the beginning, a funny experience is that when we had some concert also far from Damanhur, we needed to take our plants with us. So the plants that we had here at home, because that plant were trained to play.
Wow.
And so that plants were really able to play and to interact with the device and to play every time. 20 years ago, there were plants that were well trained to play and plants that didn't play and played just random notes. And we have seen years later that now it's like that now all the plants are more or less expert. So in this moment, we don't have plants that are not trained to play, but they have a common medium understanding of how this technology works. And so we think that all these years of concerts around the world, in Italy, in Germany, in India, in the States, is like the plant collectivity knows about this technology, and so all the plants knows how to interact with the device. And at the beginning of the research, this knowledge was not possible. So we had trained plants and not trained plants. So
Wow.
in this moment we are in an evolved moment of this in this technology, and we can say that even if I connect the device for the first time to a new plant, it works from the beginning.
Wow. One of the experiences we had just like a week later was we went to this park outdoors. And again, she brought the machine, but we didn't even hook it to anything. We were just walking along. It was a very like cool, crisp winter day. There was still snow everywhere. It was just like this very peaceful energy. And we were walking along this snowy path and we were surrounded by pine trees, spruce trees. And all of a sudden the machine just started playing like loud music, and it just felt like this like collective energy from all these trees around us. We're just like, we have a message to share with you. You don't even have to totally connect in, like we're going to go ahead and communicate with you. Have you ever heard of that kind of experience? Is it still working in the same way?
Yes, it happens.
Oh, that's so cool. And one other question I have is, does it work on inanimate objects, so to speak, as well? The lady that I've been, kind of experimenting with hers, she said that she also uses it on crystals. And I was curious if you guys have experimented on other kinds of natural objects like that.
Well, we have seen that it could work potentially also on also on us, but it doesn't work every time. So, because the device is set for a range of variations that is for plants, so it works sometimes with other objects, but it depends from many conditions. Also, with person, for what I've seen, it works very few times, and from all the tests that I have done, it works more with women. So experimenting with 10 people, it's the 80% of time it works, they are women. So this is also an interesting consideration, but it is true. It works more with women and children.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's a super interesting factor there.
Yeah, there is not a scientific explanation about this. So we have not researched in this moment why it works only with children or women, but just to think maybe children and women have ways more similar to plants, and so it could be. It depends. Sometimes there are also men that have a feminine part more developed than some women, but it is different in proportion.
Wow, that is so interesting. So I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit about the product. You have 3 different versions, right?
Yes, we have 3 different kinds. So the first, it is the U1 device that we have developed 5 years ago. And this device is more for fixed position. So it is a good device that you can have for exposition. You can have maybe in a shop, in a place where you need to have the device that constantly play. So this device is very stable, and you need to connect it to electricity and also to an external speaker. So it is It is a device that needs also of other devices. Then the bamboo device is really different because the bamboo has the bamboo basic and the bamboo M. So the bamboo basic, it is a more simple version of the bamboo M device, but they are really similar. In fact, the model is the same, and it is more like a smartphone. So this is the portable device. So this is really useful when you need to go outside, when you need to go in forest. Maybe you are walking and you just want to not have something heavy with you, but you want to have a light object and you want to connect it to your plant during a walk. So this device is portable, has its own speaker, its own battery, and it works more or less like a phone. So it has everything.
Does it also work with your phone?
Yes, connecting it through a cable. So we chose as philosophy to not use the Wi-Fi. So it works through cable. And through cable, you can connect it to your phone and you can record the music on the phone. So there is not an application in this moment for the phone, but you can connect it to record the music on the phone. And so the main difference between the basic and the M, because the basic is more for person that just want to hear the sound of the plant. So you can choose between 12 musical profiles. The M version is more for musicians because it has many different musical parameters. So you can choose between 128 musical instruments, and then you can change the musical scale. You can change all the musical effects like reverb, like choral. So all these musical effects that are useful for a musician that needs to manage the sound in a certain way.
Yeah, that's the one I use, the M one, and it was so nice to have all the different musical, like the instrument options, and to be able to change the hertz of the music and like the frequency, and yeah, all the different things. So that was awesome. Has this technology evolved or changed at all over time for you guys?
Yes, it has. It has evolved. So the U1 device is born in the more or less 2005. I can say, because before we had other prototypes that were similar to this to the U1 device. Then this big machine becomes more smaller. So like technology works, you start from a big thing and become smaller. So in this moment we have this smallest device that is more like a smartphone, and so this is the evolution of the device also. So the bamboo device is born just 2 years ago. So the bamboo device that is born 2 years ago,
oh wow,
it is another level of this technology. So maybe in the future we are researching also about creating other devices, and we usually collect also ideas and feedbacks from the users, and so we are interested on understanding which are the features that can be added to this device to make the research more interesting, because what is really important to us is to create also this network of people that research with plants. So it is not only a commercial device. I think that's okay, we sell and people are okay, but it is really a research. So for this reason, we ask what is important to improve, if we need to change something. And so for this reason, many times we ask what we could change, and also we take this feedback for the next devices maybe.
I noticed that after signing up for your email list that you guys do ask a lot of feedback. And even if you send out information in an email, the next email that you get or at the end of the email, it'll typically ask for feedback or about experiences or questions, concerns. Yeah, you guys seem very, very engaging in getting feedback, but I'm sure that's all part of your guys' research. How has this device impacted your community and maybe your relationship with plants?
Well, this device, usually it is really surprising to use at the first time because even if you are really in contact with plants, it is really surprising this use at the first time because you feel this clear interaction and you hear. So you not only feel the connection with plants, but you hear with your ears the sound of the plant that change according also to what happens. So we use in our community the device for many uses. For example, we use it in agriculture. So we have seen that plants grow faster with music. So in agriculture, we use both music of the plants, so the music that arises from the plants, and also the classical music. We have seen that classical music is really, really, plants like a lot, the classical music.
I've heard that. I've heard that plants love classical music and it helps them grow more. So
Yes.
did that influence the choices of music that you guys chose for the machines?
Yeah, we use both.
Wow, very cool.
The music of the plants is also really, really interesting because it's the music made by the plants. And so they both together are a good mix for the growth of the plants. And so we use this in agriculture. Another use that we have for the music of the plants, it is, for example, in yoga classes. And the feedback that we have from the teacher of yoga is that usually when a teacher of yoga needs to think of the class, so of the movements that he needs to do, and also needs to think about the music, because maybe you start with a certain kind of music, but then you need to change again because maybe you are entering into a more meditating moment. And the feedback that arrived from them is that with the music of the plants device, they don't have anymore this problem of changing the music, because the plant itself changed the music regarding the moment of the class. So when they are doing more active movements, the plant plays a certain kind of music, and when they are meditating, there is another kind of music. So, so the plants change the music according to the moment of the lessons, and they don't have anymore this problem.
So it's just feeling the energy of the room, and it's like, okay, it's chill time now, about to bring the chill vibes. Wow.
Yes.
This technology is so fascinating. I'm sure you guys have just seen some mind-blowing things with it. What's some of your favorite ways people are using it?
So one of the favorite ways, it is the music. So the artistic way of use the device, and this opens to really a new way of considering the art and also the music. So we have a lot of musicians all over the world that use the device in concerts. And also 3 years ago, we organized in Paris, in France, the first Music of the Plants festival, in which different musicians arrived to play with the plants. And they played in a jam. So you cannot arrive with a composed song and pretend to play with the plants, but you need to do improvisation. And so the improvisation,
no way,
is one of the main way to use this technology. And musicians are really happy also to integrate this technology in their music. And so they organize live concerts, and there are also musicians that have recorded some CD with the music of the plants, with different kind of trees. So on our website, you can also see the CDs that we have of artists that have used the music of the plants device for their composition.
Wow. So I know I saw on your guys' page a couple people DJing. Like there was like a plant as like a co-DJ and they were doing a concert. That is so crazy. I was like blown away. That is just honestly the coolest concert I can imagine. I'm curious, are you guys going to be doing that festival again or something similar somewhere else?
Yes, so if the situation allows us to do it, in August there will be another festival in France. So in France, because we have this big collaborator of us that organizes it. So,
Okay.
but I know that all over the world there are concerts that are, for example, in the States. There is Tom Wall, that is a musician of a band called Cosmic Note, and they are in Michigan. So, and he organized.
Oh, that's where I'm from.
He organized many different concerts, and so you can also follow them to see maybe when they have something. And so, yeah, on our website we have a map with all our distributors and all our collaborators, and so maybe following them in your country, you can also see if there are some events with the music of the plants in your country.
Yeah, I'll add that in the show notes so people can, I know we have listeners all over the world, so people can go to their respective countries and figure out where there are some live music concerts, I'm sure, happening or unfolding maybe online right now. I know a lot of people have been taking their stuff to the interwebs, so maybe we can connect with some of these magical plant DJs. So do you have a particular plant, or I was curious when you first said that you guys had an original plant that you were working with, what kind of plant was that? Or do you have a particular plant at home that you really like to communicate with?
I can say that in this moment all the plants are really singers, but there are plants that sing in a more active way. For example, the pepper, the lemon plants, the orange. These plants, and in particular all the aromatic plants, they play in a more active way. Then there are the trees that have like more slow, ambient, chill sounds. So the trees have more this extended sound, less than, while other plants have more this. Trees have these long notes, this melody that is really more for the environment and more relaxing.
That's super interesting that you mentioned the aromatic plants, because when I told you we were like blessing and anointing that one tree in the greenhouse, the lady that we were with said that she sometimes likes to bring out essential oils and see if a particular plant might be interested. So she had like 6 essential oils in her bag, and she pulled them out and she put like a cinnamon one up against the tree. And she's like, how do you guys feel? Do you think that this is a scent that it would be interested in? And immediately both of us were like, no. Like this plant was like, no to the cinnamon. No, thank you. And then she pulled out this orange zest. And we were like, immediately we were like, oh yeah, like this one's got really good energy. And so we put some on our hands. So when we were doing like the blessing and anointing, we were just like whooshing this citric aromatics all around it. And it just started singing so loud. I was like, wow, I just thought it was crazy that you made that connection back to that. Those are plants that really like to communicate. And we were also kind of playing with those essential oils. Very, very cool. And we experienced the same thing in the woods. All the trees had this very long, drug out, like very harmonious sound that they were making, which was very different than the kind of sporadic sounds of some of the smaller plants that were in the greenhouse. Some of them kind of made the like ding, 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 ding kind of things. But the forest was just this big, almost like collective vibration. It was really, really beautiful. So I'm curious if there's anything else that you would like to share with us about this technology or any of the experiences that you guys have had with it.
I have one experience that I want to tell because it is always really funny to me to remember. In my office, I have always three plants connected to three different devices. And they play together all the day, so sometimes one plays less, sometimes one plays more, but they interact a lot between them, and they are more like an orchestra. And they play always together, and there is always this background sound. And I saw, now I tell an episode, but this happened different time. One time happened that a couple, so a wife and her husband, was entering in the office, and she was very, very happy to see the plants singing. And so she was really enthusiastic about this technology, and she was telling, oh my God, this technology is incredible, and oh, plants, I love you, I love you, I love you. And her husband was stopped on the door and was looking at her and saying, but I don't believe in this. But why do you believe in this? It is really strange. And she said, no, please, come closer, come closer. And he arrives closer to her and to the plants. And when he arrived there, these three plants stopped to play in the same moment. So in the same moment, they stopped immediately to play all together. And was really, really funny. This lady started to laugh a lot. And then she asked him to go out.
Oh my God.
He went out, and when he went out, these three plants started to play again.
Oh my God. They're like, you don't deserve it. You weren't a believer. You have to be a believer to hear. Oh my gosh, that sounds so similar to the experience I had with my husband when I came home. When I first found out about the technology, I was like jumping up and down. And my husband is just like, he knows that I'm a scientifically minded person, but he knows that my enthusiasm and joy will trump science pretty much any day. I love science, mad respect for it, but just the joy of being will always trump it. And so I was just like super excited, and he's just like, but how? But how? Like he just could not, he's like, it's not real. That can't work. I don't understand. And I'm scientifically explaining it to him in every way I can possibly understand, because I did a lot of my own research trying to figure out how it works and really just combat his idea that it wouldn't work. But I wondered to myself, if I brought him to the greenhouse, would the plants even be interested in communicating with him? Because he's such a skeptic. And that maybe answers my question. That is super funny. That is great. I'm glad they got a good laugh out of that.
Yeah.
So if you could leave the audience with one piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be to really use this moment. So to really use this quarantine to take the time to stay close to a plant and to listen and to try to establish these relations. And also, this is really related to our well-being. So it is a devotional thing, but it is also something that we should be interested for our future. So my hope is that our lifestyle change in a way in which nature is more included. And so maybe we use less cars, and maybe we choose some more natural products to buy, and so we prefer the biological food instead of other kind of cultivations. So I really hope that in this moment we use this phase of lockdown to rethink of our lives in a way in which is more in connection also with our way of being.
Yes, there's this song that I love to listen to, and one portion of it talks about nature and how it survives and sustains and thrives through cooperation and networking and not competition. And if there is competition, it's all within the context of cooperation and networking. This lockdown time does seem like a good time to reevaluate those connections and networking in so many ways with other people, connecting to plants, to connecting with your pets that are at home. All those things will definitely bring us some balance during this time. So where can we continue to be inspired by Music of the Plants and follow your guys' journey online and support you? I believe that you guys also have some free music downloads on your website right now. So where can we find all those things?
Yes, so on our website, musicoftheplants.com, you can visit it, and there you can see a lot of information about us. There is also our blog, and you can see our shop. And in our shop, there are also the CD that in this period of lockdown are downloadable for free. But after this period, they will become again on sale. Also because artists need to live and to have their profit.
Absolutely.
And so the website is one. Then we have also Facebook, so you can search just Music of the Plants on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where we sometimes publish some video. So these are our main channels.
Yes, I have watched all your YouTube videos, which are super helpful in all different kinds of ways, just getting familiar with the technology, seeing how other people are using it. It's really good stuff. And I've downloaded some of the music tones that you guys have offered as well. And those play in with my meditation playlist that I play in the house all day. And as soon as one of those songs comes on, you know it immediately. The plant songs just have this very special vibration to them, this special kind of magic. And as soon as they come on, the whole energy of the house just feels really good. I've been posting lots of videos of my plants lately and photos, and they're just so green and so thriving. So I think they are loving hearing all the recorded plants sing. They like that very, very much. Thank you, Aninga, for bringing all this plant magic to us and teaching us how we can connect with plants through music and through taking a time to slow down and pause and connect with them. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all that with us.
And thank you for inviting me and for letting me the opportunity to add also our experience to your podcast and to your beautiful work. Thank you.
Before we get to the closing portion of this episode, I thought it would be fun to share a little piece of plant audio with you. So go ahead and take the next 30 seconds or so to tune in to some chill plant vibes. The plant kingdom only gets more and more fascinating, am I right? Did you know prior to hearing this episode that we have been listening and researching the music of plants since the 70s? This feels like information every person should know, and definitely every plant person. And I'm honored to have had Aninga here to share with us today. This week, I challenge you to look up some Music of the Plants videos on Instagram. They're absolutely fascinating, and all different plants play all different kinds of music, and it's just incredible to watch and to hear. So that's what I challenge you to do. If you come across a video that you really love, share it to your story and tag us, Among the Jungle Podcast and Music of the Plants. Be sure to follow Music of the Plants on Instagram and head to their website to receive $30 off a device and to download their free plant music audio. You can find the show notes for this episode at amongthejungle.com/013. If you're really looking to do your plant friends a favor, be sure to share this episode with them so we can all tune into the music of the plant kingdom. I hope this episode inspired your wild, and I hope that you understand the rhythm of nature on a deeper level. It's my wish that you're inspired to slow down and to listen to the music all around you, from the plants to the birds to the animals and trees. Music really is everywhere. All you have to ask yourself is what station you're tuned to. Until next week, Jungle Dwellers, love, light, and aloha. I am so grateful to the plants that bless this beautiful earth, and to you for choosing to nurture a wild place inside of your heart. I hope this episode inspired your wild, and I'd love to hear your feedback, suggestions for future guests, and other botanical notes at amongthejungle.com or Among the Jungle on Instagram. It's been lovely exploring this exotic world with you today, and I look forward to where the journey takes us next week. Mahalo for tuning in, and stay wild.